Okay, so today we're going to be talking about something that has honestly been well known for a while now. I am not even close to being the first person to discuss this, but I just discovered it myself a couple days ago. I made a post on my fan page about it, and it's regarding a certain American... It's an American comic, but it's drawn in like a manga style. And the person that came up with the story as well as did some of the artwork, he didn't do all the artwork, was Nick Simmons, the son of Gene Simmons from the famous American hard rock band Kiss. Never been a huge fan of Kiss. Hotter Than Hell was a good album. I think that's the only album I've ever literally listened to by them. But anyway, so basically his son is a comic book artist. You know, do I care? No. Do you probably care about anything Nick Simmons does? No. But the thing about this manga... comic, whatever you want to call it, is that it's been famous because apparently he plagiarized the shit out of like a bunch of other famous manga that are, in Japan, And the funny thing about plagiarizing a story in a comic or manga, like the first thing I thought of was, oh, he was ripping off the story, because it's not as simple as just like, oh, he's like let's say there's a manga series that has a very hyperactive ninja, and his goal is to become the king ninja, the grandmaster ninja, and the plot itself is like the characters are different and the names are different, but the plot itself is basically just right out of Naruto. Is that technically plagiarism if it's different characters, if it's different art? And just the plot is very similar, and there's very similar characters, as long as it's not like blatantly ripping off the artwork, you'd think not, right? So that's what I originally thought. This is a series that's just ripping off a storyline. It's just a knockoff. Well, upon reading it, it's only a 3-chapter series, but the chapters are each about like 50, 60 pages long. I discovered that no, it's not just the story. The story itself is actually kind of unique. It's just literally the characters that are... the characters and also the way they're drawn and the way that they're presented in some panels look like an absolute duplicate of panels that you'd see in Bleach and in Hellsing especially. I think those are the two big ones. I mean, he rips off some other ones too. And when I say rip off, I mean like, there's a website, it's called knowyourmeme.com, and the good people over there did way more in-depth analysis than I did. What they did is they actually took an image a panel from Bleach, and they laid it over a panel from this series, Incarnate, and they tweaked the opacity to show you the fade outs. It's like an exact perfect replication of the way that the eyes and the shading and the faces are done, and it's quite obviously what he was doing when he did this. There's really no way you can look at this and say that, oh, this is all original creation. All right, so this isn't going to be a review. I'm not going to be up here. I guess down here, because I'm in the corner of the screen. I'm not going to be down here reviewing the entire series. I'm just going to be glancing over the first chapter, maybe a little bit of the second, and just kind of showing you what this is going on. I'll leave the link below if you want to go read it yourself. It's actually very pleasing to the eye, just because it's completely in color, which is a welcome change from actual manga, and I'll give credit where credit is due. I'll bring up the fact, okay, this is an original plot point, this is new, but I'm also gonna, show up when he actually blatantly rips something off. So here's the cover of the series Incarnate, and looking at this right away, it's kind of hard not to think, hi, Alucard, how are you doing? The face, the eyes, I mean, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I will bring up one thing is that, he's wearing a suit, obviously, so he's clearly not Alucard. But I just want to, point something out right here. The cloak of this guy, I guess it would be his jacket, it kind of gets, flapping upwards toward the title, Incarnate, and it kind of becomes demonic, like you start seeing bones and teeth in there, and it looks just a lot like, this, except replacing, how Alucard's cloak gets melded to make the eyes in this artwork for Hellsing. So, right off the bat, we're getting started. The series starts off in a dark alleyway where we see a young black-haired vampire enjoying a meal consisting of a recently deceased corpse, and he basically just goes on saying, exactly what, it's like being a vampire for so long. The killing doesn't bother you anymore. It's just the hunger, So he kind of reminds me if Alucard's been around for 500, 600 years. He's been alive since the time of Ivan the Terrible. So this gives me the impression this is how Alucard would be 100 years or so after he became a vampire. At that point, he's not quite on the level of, because at the time of the series of Hellsing, when it was taking place, Alucard basically thought himself to be a god, essentially. Like, he could just do all this shit. So this is, like, at a critical point where it's like, he's not really troubled by killing anymore. He's not really interested in the lives of humans. He's just kind of, like, bored, essentially, before he really, escalated to that point. So, yeah, but honestly, he looks kind of like if Alucard got combined with, like, Walter, the younger version of Walter, because either way, I mean, it's taking stuff from Hellsing. It's kind of hard not to see it. So far, it's like, aside from the cover page, it's like, okay, black-haired vampire, whatever. Let's give it some credit, right? He's obviously not thinking the same as Alucard does. He kind of has his own personality, so maybe we can, maybe it's something original. And then we get the title page, Chapter 1, Little Boy Death, and just look at this. Just look at this. Okay, so we have him in silhouette with red eyes, something that happens a lot in the Hellsing series. Granted, that happens mostly with Anderson, but it does happen with Alucard too, where his, it does like the silhouette, and then we just see the red eyes, glaring in from the darkness, kind of like reminiscing, like this is the inner monster. He's truly at an empty, dark abyss that's just filled with nothing but anger and power. And then, if that wasn't to drive it home enough, we have his arm, which is becoming slightly more demonic, and we have eyes coming out of it. So it's kind of hard not to think. Okay, black-haired vampire in silhouette, red eyes popping out of his bodies in various places. I mean, come on, people. That you cannot say that's not ripping off Alucard. Okay, it's fucking Alucard. All right. So moving on from that, we cut over. I guess he's now calling his friend. Which, some people have been, it's the thing, because, like, when somebody, finds, like, something that's plagiarizing work, everyone likes to pick out, like, oh, this character looks like this now, oh, this character looks like this now. Some people have been saying this guy looks like Ichigo. Honestly, I don't really see it that much. There's some panels of him that, like where he's, like, looking around, he looks kind of annoyed. That'll kind of, like, resemble the way Ichigo usually looks. Honestly, I felt more of, like, a Bard vibe from Black Butler. I thought he looked a lot like he has, like, the scruff on him, wherever. Well, anyway, his name's Connor, and he's also a vampire, and he's just kind of hanging out in this, this stank-ass pit or whatever, where he's like a dead guy on this freaking coat hook behind him, and he's just talking to Connor, and Connor shows up, and he's like, come on, we're gonna go to this place. So they have some banter back and forth, like they know each other. So, they head out to this place. I guess it's like a hangout for vampires, whatever, oh, by the way, the Alucard-looking kid, you're just gonna be calling him Alucard, but his name is Motley Crue, you get it? Anyway, his name's Mott. So he takes him to this place. It's like this like abandoned car garage, like out in the middle of the depths of the city, to kind of introduce him to this vampire society. So they open up the doors, and lo and behold, one of the members, like the leader of this vampire society, is there. You go. Gee, I wonder who that looks like. It's like creepy Cheshire cat smile on his face. He's got the blonde hair that's, long, going over his eyes. He's got the creepy ass, expression going on. I don't even know who the hell. He's even dressing the same as Shinji. Come the fuck on, man. He's got the trench coat. He's got the freaking, not cravat. He got the cravat thing going on. He's freaking Shinji, man. You could have at least given him a different clothes to wear. I mean, come on. I think this, next to Mott, is, like, the one that's, like, blatantly ripping off the most. Like Connor being Ichigo, I'm like, you'll see. There's some other resemblances that he has. Like, I'll just show them now, because I'm not doing a whole review. But there's one scene where we have, like, a flashback to seeing Connor becoming a vampire for the first time, and he's like lying in an alleyway, and this is like back in the 30s, and he's he's riddled with bullet wounds, and he becomes a vampire, and he stands up, and he's like, wait, all my wounds are gone, and he has this like side-by-side comparison, like when after Ichigo, after his fight with Ukiyo, he had the hole blasted in his chest, and he sits up, he's like, the hole's gone. So that's something right there. So we get a look at, like, the Vampire Society here, and this is honestly the place where it has the most original characters. We get a really wicked hot goth chick with, like, a mohawk. We get this African tribal dude. We get this troll-looking guy with, like, a noose hanging around his neck. They all look pretty cool. The last guy in the group, I'm getting Crocodile vibes from One Piece. Just the way he dresses, long black, slick black hair. He's got like kind of like I don't even know if it's a tattoo or it's like his cracks in his face. He's also got kind of like the the neckwear going on, the scarf. So the fur trim coat. It's freaking Crocodile. So the reason that Mott and Connor are there is that Ripley, the Shinji ripoff, he's standing there and he's explaining to them that there's this society of vampire hunters called Sanctum. and they discovered the secret on how to destroy vampires, how to kill them, and just as soon as he explains that, Mott is just like, oh, they can't kill us, whatever, so he starts laughing. And as soon as he says that, though, the freaking strike team breaks in, the Sanctum strike team breaks into this place, and they start, blah, 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 like assault rifles, they start blowing the shit out of everybody. And they are led by, they're led by this guy. Don't say it. His name is Vincent. He doesn't use a sword. He uses a badass scythe with a skull on it, so that's cool. But his name's Vincent. Yeah, okay. So this is the one I think that started everything. Like the other ones are like, he might look like Ichigo. He might be Alucard. This is blatant. This is absolutely unforgivable plagiarism of the highest order here. I mean, this is literally taking a character and just changing the most minute aspects of his appearance and saying it's an original character. That would be like me if I ever did a manga, which I don't even know if that's ever going to happen. But that would be like me doing a manga where I'm writing about the story of one man and his journey to discover all new types of food. And I'll give him a different name, but I'll just basically take Toriko and I'll give him orange hair instead of blue hair. And instead of having 3 scars on one side of his face, I'll put them down here. And that's about it. That's all this guy did with Kenpachi. He changed his hair color, and he modified the scar on his face from the... I think, because Kenpachi has it on his left side. This guy moved it to the right side, and he also added another cross, horizontal, which gives it the appearance of a cross. Oh, and he gave him a different weapon. So instead of Toriko using fork and knife, I'll have him use the spork, the deadly spork. Yeah, that's basically what it is. And there's even scenes here, thanks to KnowYourMeme.com, that actually shows, side-by-side comparisons to Kenpachi hair. And look, don't pay attention that much to the coloring. Take the coloring away from it, take the hair away from it, take the scar away from it. Look at the shading. Look at the places where, like, the grooves and the dents in the face are, where they put the shading in to make it kind of like the face more defined. What really made Kenpachi's face really recognizable and really, like, impactful. Like, it's kind of like rectangular in a sense. Look at that kind of shit. The shading is, like, in the exact same spots. And Nick Simmons didn't, like I said, there was a thing about the art here. Nick Simmons did not actually do all the art. I believe he did the story, he wrote it, and he did the penciling work. So basically, he penciled out, how the character was supposed to look, maybe the shading, and then they had another guy that inked it in, and then they had yet another guy that colored it. But the very basis of that whole process... I can't put it on the inker, I can't put it on the colorist, because they had nothing to do with actually how the characters were designed. The inker just takes the pencil and he makes it more, defined and, easier for the colorist to do his job to color everything in. So they were just the post-production. They were just, oh, this is what you're giving me? Okay, I'm going to do this. The guy that originally did all the base work for this was Nick Simmons for the penciling, and he penciled, this guy in, and that's what we got. So this is Vincent, and he's the leader of Sanctum, and this... No, he's not the leader of Sanctum, he's just, like, the leader of this squad. So, just continuing with the story, they basically raid the place, and they shoot, all the vampires, and there's this big epic battle. Mott gets shot a shit ton of times, but of course he doesn't go down, because there's even a scene where he gets half of his face blown off. Gee, I never saw that before. And he's still standing. There is one original scene, this one's pretty cool, where they actually take an RPG and they blast it, and you see it, like, connecting with Mott's face. And it's slowly blowing up like shrapnel right in this dude's fucking face. And as soon as that's done, they're, of course, all standing there just like, oh, man, there's nothing that could have survived that. Sing! And then they get cut up. And how they get cut up by them, how does Mott use... how does he use an offensive ability? I know what some of you might be thinking. No, he does not use guns. No, he does not use dogs to come out and kill his enemy. It has nothing to do with anything Alucard uses to attack people with. He doesn't even use the eyes. No, he uses retractable arm blades that stretch out from his forearm, and he attacks his opponent almost like, I don't know, it's like a little bit to the left of the, no, it's dead center. It's dead center. So there's, in case you haven't watched or read Dead Man Wonderland, that's right from a character from Dead Man Wonderland known as Crow. Crow is badass, by the way. He's also kind of like a Kenpachi, thing for that, but at least, I mean, he has the eye patch and everything going on, so, that's neither here nor there. We're not here to discuss, Dead Man Wonderland. Crow at least had a kind of unique backstory, okay? And Vincent is just, okay, you put an eye patch on Vincent, he's freaking Kenpachi. Anyway, so, yeah, that's how Mott uses to, like, wipe out all of the soldiers. So, the chapter 1 ends with Vincent attacking Mott and getting, like, cut down because he's able to actually cut and wound a vampire with his scythe. And right before Connor and Mott are about to get cut down, we have this other girl that shows up and in, like, a nightgown or something and dressed in white. And she's just like, oh, this is not death. You can come with me. So that's the end of chapter 1. And I'm just going to go a little bit into chapter 2. Because, honestly, like, this is, like, if I went through all 3... like all 300 plus pages, it would be the same thing, just me comparing it. You can go on Know Your Meme, I'll put the links in below. But so I just want to bring up some stuff with chapter 2. All right, so chapter 2 starts off in the Helsing Manor. It's a little bit different. It's like, I don't want to say Helsing Manor. It's a little bit different. It's a high-class British estate, so let's just call it that, where Mott is having a discussion on the rooftop with his alternate evil self, inner self. I would call Hollow Ichigo on that, but there's so many other manga that do, like, the evil alter ego, like, I'm your inner self. I'm your true self. There's so many other series that do that I can't really bring it up, but that's what's going on with him. And this is probably where we get the most unique aspect of the entire series. The girl, whose name escapes me, I don't care, just call her Orihime. So the girl, Orihime, developed a device to put on the vampires. They actually, it's like a snake spinal cord looking thing, where they actually embed it into the vampire's spinal cord, and it acts like a control collar, like a shock collar. The thing is keyed to her voice and her vitals. And, so if she gets attacked by a vampire, they immediately, like kill them. They react violently with their body, because the way they figured out how to kill vampires or wound them was use the bones of their own kind. Like the bullets they were shooting last chapter, they were actually, they had the pits of the bone from other vampires, and apparently they can't resist damage from their own kind in a certain sense. So that was unique. That's a new way to take it, like the only thing, like Pokemon sense, the only thing that's super effective against dragon, well, one of the only things that are super effective against dragon is more dragon. So, that's one thing I guess you can look forward to. So, that's that. I'm just kind of going to cut off here because the rest of the chapter is honestly not that much in terms of blatantly ripping off anything. The characters have already been established, so just take with that. There's a couple of scenes that were compared to, like, there's this scene of Mott and he's like raising up his hand and he kind of looks like Grimmjow. That I was like, okay, maybe that might be a something. Like, I think that's a little bit different. I think that's kind of stretching it. The chick is kind of a thing for Orihime, especially. Like, at first I didn't see it. I couldn't really tell. She looked kind of familiar, but I really couldn't tell. It's the same treatment they did with Vincent, though. It's not as direct, because Orihime doesn't have as many defining characteristics as Kenpachi does, but it's basically the same treatment. Different eye color, different hair, and, the body type is slightly different. She's about a cup size, smaller than Orihime is. But she's basically the same. They lay out the images, next to each other. They have her and Orihime, and just like, oh, look, they're fading in. And there's a scene where she's crying for Mott not to hurt himself anymore. And there's a scene where this demon devil thing, shows up, and it's like an exact ripoff for Vasto Lorde Ichigo. And she's looking on, you just see the one eye widening, and there, and, same thing with Orihime. So it's like stuff like that, and, the Kenpachi shit. I think that's really all I have to... Oh, there's another scene where one of the members of the Vampire Society, the crocodile-looking dude, he's actually wearing Alucard's glasses. It's sad, the only, really original character that I can really say in this entire thing is the vampire chick. Now, I think her name's Ripley, and she can spawn, 6 winged... She's, 6 crow wings and fly upon. That doesn't look like anything. But aside from that... she's really kind of the most unique character. She's a goth chick. She has an interesting hairstyle. She has piercings and everything. And she has a conversation with Connor in the second chapter. And it's basically turning how the Orihime looking chick is enlisting the vampires to help her in her organization, so Helsing again. But the thing is, now there's other vampires that are fighting against them, like there's like their own kind. It's like, why are you betraying your own kind? So that's kind of unique. But at the end of the day, there's only like it's not a regular series. It was published in like 2009. It probably ended in 2010. So it's not like this is still going on and this is still a problem, but it's obviously plagiarism. So I just want you to kind of take a look at that and see what you think for yourself. But that was me. I was Techie 101's analysis of this. Yeah, that's all I got, guys. Laters.